What is up, Buck? I am Doug with D&E in the Garage, and I would like to welcome you all to another episode of D&E Rapid Fire Automotive News. I read automotive news on a daily basis. Most of the time, the stories are relatively boilerplate and boring, but occasionally I get an exciting story. I put it aside, put it on a list. When that list is long enough, I bring it to you in the form of a rapid fire news segment. Let's do that now. First up, we're going to talk about the Ford Lightning fully electric pickup truck. So this Ford Lightning they're coming out with, not a new name. Y'all know the Ford Lightning from the 90s and early 2000s. Super cool pickup. I believe it's an SVT vehicle. That one. This is not. This is something else. Fully electric F-150 is basically what we're looking at. It's a dual motor, all-wheel drive, fully electric vehicle. Not a drop of gasoline on this thing. No hybrid, no internal combustion engine. We're looking at a range of about 300 miles, and again, built directly on an F-150 platform. And that right there is the key for me. That is why this truck coming out in 2022 is my favorite EV that has to date been made. My favorite fully electric vehicle, and the reason is this: it looks like a normal vehicle. Fully electric, battery electric vehicles have a terrible habit of looking friggin' weird. They don't just look like normal cars. They're futuristic, they're niche, goofy looking things. Thinking about the Nissan Leaf, the Toyota Prius, the Chevy Spark and the Bolt, the Honda thing they made all those years ago. They all look weird, so that someone who just is a fan of a normal car, just needs a normal vehicle, they're gonna look at it and say, I don't want to drive that. It looks like a friggin' clown car. It looks like a joke. It looks like something designed specifically for teenagers and nobody else. That's not the case with this truck. It just looks like an F-150, and I think that's awesome. Let's look at what this truck is going to compete with, because it's not competing with your Prius. It's not competing with your Chevy Volt. Which one's the fully electric? The Bolt is fully electric. The Volt is a hybrid. Doesn't matter. They're both burning down. Chevy's got a real problem with that. We've talked about that in past news segments. We're talking about Ford today, though. First and foremost, this is aimed directly at the Rivian truck. If you haven't heard of Rivian, they're a newer company. They only do electric vehicles. I actually sat in one of these at the New York International Auto Show last year, and I was left wanting, because even though it looks more like a pickup truck, it's still designed and built with that let's wow them with how much technology and futuristic design we can cram into one little battery-powered vehicle. I was not impressed by the Rivian. Now, I was the only one in all of Jacob Javits Center who was not impressed. Everybody was sitting there fawning over this thing, and I just personally didn't get it. I'd like to know down in the squawk boxes, are you like me, where you look for a normal, more relatable style in an EV, or do you like the idea of, hey, it's a futuristic vehicle, let's make it look futuristic? In my opinion, the Rivian is a pickup truck for people who didn't actually want a pickup truck. They wanted a Prius, but they happened to own a boat, so they had to buy a Rivian. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think so. Moving on, this Ford Lightning is obviously also going to compete with the Hummer EV. If you're not familiar, GM has promised the world that they're bringing back the Hummer nameplate. They're bringing it back as a fully electric SUV. Now, in my opinion, while the F-150 Lightning, fully electric Lightning, will compete with this truck, they're not in the same class. Who's going to be buying the F-150 Lightning fully electric? You know, normal people, commuters, normal truck drivers, but I could see situations where landscaping companies maybe renew their fleet and they decide to go electric. These things are coming with a 10,000 pound tow cap. That's serviceable. That's what you expect out of an F-150. You know, maybe property management companies, you know, any of these construction companies that buy big fleets of very basic trucks, and you know, they're not necessarily single use for towing or moving or anything like that. It's just, you know, two guys driving around, it's idling all day. Why not do that in an electric vehicle? I totally get it. You can still put a toolbox in the back. You can still link a trailer up to it. I've said all that. Who's buying the Hummer? Not that same person. The Hummer is going to be an enthusiast vehicle. It seems to me like they're trying to aim the Hummer at the Wrangler 4xe, bring battery electric technology or hybrid technology to the off-road, the enthusiast, the overlander, the outdoorsman. So we're looking at totally different markets for these two vehicles. Moving on down the road, the Tesla truck. Now, the Tesla truck is a real tough nut to crack, and here's why. There's some really big issues with it. Number one, and I'm gonna not use the word I want to use, I'm going to say the design is polarizing. Now, that was the point to some extent, because when that truck was launched, there was nobody on the planet who wasn't talking about the Tesla truck, this big triangular monstrosity. I mean, I think it's ugly as sin, but I know there are plenty of people who think it's cool as hell. But here's the problem. And well, before we go to the problem, here's the benefit there, or a positive thing. Again, you got great tow cap, you got great range in the Tesla truck. Very capable. You know it's going to be well built because Tesla is a quality company. But here's the thing. If I own a construction company and I'm saying, you know what, I need to buy 5 new pickup trucks. They're for the foremans. They don't need to pull a lot. They don't need to tow a lot. Maybe I'll buy electric trucks. Oh, my foreman's driving around in Tesla trucks? No. I'm buying the Ford F-150. That way, if you don't even know it's an electric truck. In my opinion, the Tesla truck is a great example of how not to advertise a new vehicle. Even though they generated a lot of buzz, a lot of it was negative buzz. They put together a commercial that was very, very misleading, and they got called out a bunch of times, most notably by Engineering Explained. He explained why the commercial was BS. And then, that was that thing where Musk tried to not break the window. He showed how indestructible the windows are, and it shattered anyway. So the last thing to think about here, and I'm trying to put this Ford Lightning in context. That's the purpose here, to explain why I like it so much. You look at all the EV vehicles out there. None of them appeal to me. And I suspect a lot of you are like me. None of them appeal to people like us who, maybe we're interested in electric vehicles, but I don't need a car that's, a Jackson Pollock painting. I don't need a car that is a piece of modern art. I need a capable vehicle that's going to get some work done. The last one that I think this truck is probably going to be competing with to some extent is the Hyundai Santa Cruz. The Santa Fe is the compact SUV. The Santa Cruz is the vehicular hermaphrodite that Hyundai is going to be unleashing on the world sometime soon. I hate this thing. In my opinion, everything that the Lightning gets right is how much the Santa Cruz gets wrong. It's ugly. It doesn't do anything well. It's not going to be as efficient as it could be because they screwed up the aerodynamics, but it's not going to be as capable as a truck could be either because it's got this teeny tiny little bed and it's basically attached to a sedan. The point is, for a long time, I've sat there staring at the EV market, scratching my head, wondering what in the fancy fork these guys are thinking about, because they're never going to appeal to guys like me, guys like Eric, likely people like you. And if you can't capture that huge chunk of the market, electric cars are never going to take off then. And I know that's not a popular take, but anyway, I don't want to beat this one to death. Let's kill that story. What I would like to know is, what do you think about the Ford Lightning? And if you were looking for a truck, a fully electric truck, what are you taking? You have the Ford Lightning, the Rivian, the Hummer EV, the Tesla truck, and the Hyundai Santa Cruz to choose from. Choose wisely. Leave me a comment down there in the squawk boxes. Let's touch real quick on one more Ford story that I thought was interesting. Something, and I don't remember this from when I was a kid as much, but something that happens now. Automotive journalists love reporting on when an automaker makes a new patent, and then we just speculate to death what that could mean. I usually try to avoid those stories unless they're talking about the Jeep inline, or in this case, Ford just filed a patent for retractable exhaust tips. Now, as a Jeeper, this is actually kind of huge. The idea here, what everyone's speculating, and this is what I assume, is this is going to be used in applications like the Raptor and the Bronco. It's going to be an off-road thing. And here's the problem off-roaders come up against. Your tailpipe sticks out the back. Your exhaust tip sticks out the back. Now you're doing something with a crazy departure angle and you flatten your exhaust tip. I've actually seen people flatten their exhaust to the point where it doesn't flow and the engine doesn't run right or doesn't run at all. So what do? You hack your pipe off so that it dumps underneath the vehicle. The problem with that is it's loud. because you're no longer dumping it. It gets caught, it gets trapped, and it ends up in the cab. If you've ever ridden in something with a dump that dumps right after the axle, or God forbid right before the axle, it's loud. Sometimes it even smells like exhaust in the vehicle. Now, what about this? What if you could have a full-size tailpipe so that when you're on the highway and you're driving around, it's just a normal car, and then you get to the trailhead and your exhaust, the last 6 inches, 8 inches, 12 inches of your exhaust retracts up into the bumper. That could be huge. So I think this is really interesting, and I think it says a lot about Ford. They're killing it with the Bronco right now. They're not ever gonna kill the Wrangler because there are too many, you know, blind-eyed Jeep fanatics like me who, you know, are gonna buy a Jeep no matter what, but they're doing really well. The Wrangler, or Jiminy Christmas, get your stuff together here, bud. The Bronco is a success, and it's gonna continue to be a success, but they're not resting on their laurels, and that is where Jeep went wrong with Wrangler for a long time. Sometime around the middle of the JK run, they realized Wrangler doesn't have any competitors. It's the Wrangler, and there's nothing else competing against it. And personally, I think they stopped striving to improve on the Wrangler. Yes, they refreshed it with the JL, and there's nothing wrong with the JL. They didn't do stuff like this. Ford with the Bronco is pushing the envelope. They're taking the vehicle, they're looking at it, and they're saying, how can we make this better? And I'm here for it. I like it. I'm a Jeep guy. I don't need to buy me a Ford Bronco or nothing, but I can respect them and appreciate them. So I would like to know, what do you think about Ford retractable exhaust tips? Let's move on. Let's talk about GM. Let's specifically talk about GM's ZZ632. Who here knows what the GM ZZ632 is? Anybody? Oh man, I am looking forward to talking about this. I have gone on record numerous times and said there is no replacement for displacement. That's right, I'm a big displacement junkie. I don't care that you can do more with a smaller engine and a turbo and get twice the miles per gallon. I don't care, that's not the point. I want big displacement, American muscle go growl. GM is hearing me. Now, a lot of y'all know Dodge is pretty much the displacement owner right now. When you say internal combustion engine, large displacement, you think of Dodge right now. And what do you think of most specifically? The Hemi, the 392, and the Elephant. The Elephant is their crate motor that pushes 1,000 horsepower. GM said, oh, well, 1,000 is good, but what if we made one that made 1,004? That is the GM ZZ632. It's a 632 cubic inch. For those of you who are mathematically impaired, that is 10.4 liters. 10.4 liters, making 104 horsepower, 876 pound-feet of torque. What's impressive to me is it's on a naturally aspirated engine. That's right, the Elephant, which pushes 1,000 horsepower, is supercharged. This is a naturally aspirated 10.4 liter pushrod engine that makes peak performance at 6,600 RPM and red lines at 7 grand. It's a 10.4 liter pushrod iron block V8 that redlines like a Honda. It's absurd. I can't tell you how much I want to drive something with one of these in it. This is a drag motor. That's all this is. You're not meant to put this, I couldn't find the price on it, but there were some speculations. Doesn't matter. You're not throwing this in your beater square body. This is a drag motor. For sure, what's even more interesting is it doesn't require race fuel. It runs on pump gas. It is the most powerful Chevy since the supercharged LT5. And I think what they're trying to do here, for the longest time, Chevy was the drag racing company. You had the Fox bodies with the 5 liters in them, but like your small block Chevy is your gold standard for a muscle car. Just to go over this one more time, because the more I read about this engine, the more fascinated I got with it. Iron block, aluminum heads, forged crank and rods, forged pistons, 12-to-1 compression. That's how they get the horsepower out of the naturally aspirated engine. Pushrod engine. Max power at 6,600 RPM, 7,000. Can you imagine what a 10.5 liter pushrod engine sounds like at 7,000 RPM? Oh man, as this thing progresses, we're gonna find some YouTube videos, and if I can, I will track down somebody and I will beg them to let me make a D&E video just on the sound of the darn thing. And I'm going to be honest with you, those 3 stories are really the crux of what I wanted to talk about. It was kind of a slow news month, but I am going to give you one bonus story real quick. I read about something called the Honda Wow concept. This was a concept that's kicked around a number of times. It stands for Wonderfully Open-Hearted Wagon. This whole story is so cringe and so far from what I would usually find amusing, but here's the key. What you're looking at is a 6-passenger, I don't even know what you call it. I want to call it a minivan just because it has sliding doors and kind of looks like a minivan, but it's also kind of a crossover. But here's the key. It is a car, let's call it a van. It's a van for dog enthusiasts. It's got low floors for easy access. Both the front and rear doors slide for a super wide opening for getting your furry little friend in and out. Speaking of the sliding doors, there's glass windows at the bottom of said doors so that your little buddy can watch the road go by while you're rolling. Additionally, the middle 2 seats turn into a crate for the dog. Another thing you can do, the glove box is super large so that your dog can sit in the glove box and have their own slightly safer little compartment. But the kicker, one of the front vents pulls out and turns, so that not only can your dog sit in a private glove box while you're driving your Honda Wow, they can have air conditioning blasting them in the face. And I think that's just 10 out of 10. Here is the main problem I see with this thing. This vehicle is designed for somebody who wants to pamper the heck out of a really tiny dog and has the disposable income to do it. So you shouldn't have made this a Honda. This should have been an Acura, because I don't think the kind of person that's going to buy this is going to want to drive around in something that could probably be mistaken for a Honda Odyssey or an Element or something. But super interesting because I love dogs. I like dogs more than people. Dogs are, I think, God's reward for being decent. If you ever end up with a dog in your life, you must have done something decent in your life and God is rewarding you. Congratulations! Conversely, I'm pretty sure cats are punishments, but let's not go down that road. So the Honda Wow. My vehicle is also purpose-built for dogs. What that just means is I've given up on keeping the interior nice, so there's dog fur and scratches and drool everywhere. Let me know down in the squawk boxes if you would buy a vehicle specifically made for your dog. I probably would. Let me know what you think about the GM ZZ632 10.4 liters of all-American fun. The Ford Lightning. For me, it is the only fully electric vehicle that I would consider right now. But out of those 4, the 4 trucky-ish, SUV-ish, fully electric vehicles that we're kicking around right now, Hyundai Santa Cruz, the Tesla truck, the Hummer EV, and the Ford Lightning, which one would you rock? And, you know, retractable exhaust tips. I know that if you don't want to put your mind to it and you don't want to think about it at all, it's frivolous and it's silly. But there are a lot of little features on the new Bronco, and they come together to make a very big experience. Everybody I know that drives a Bronco loves it, and I am meeting more and more people that love them. I don't think it's ever going to send the Wrangler out of business. Don't fool yourself. But certainly competition drives innovation. So hopefully the Wrangler is going to see some of this stuff too. So I'm going to leave you guys here. Let me know down in the squawk boxes what you think of these 4 stories. Are there any more stories? What's going on in your automotive world that you'd like to talk about? Leave me the comment down there in the squawk boxes. Feel free to go check out some more of our older news videos if you want to see what other stories we were reporting on. Let me know what you might want me to touch on next month. If you like the video. That's just common sense. Subscribe to the channel. Anyway, as always, thanks for watching. See you next time.